Hello everyone and welcome to my guide to defeating LYRILUSC once and for all, or maybe at least attempt to. First and foremost, what's LYRILUSC? Well, LYRILUSC is a bunch of annoying little birds that get together to make a big bird that kills you instantly. On top of that, it's also supported by a very annoying skill that makes it ultra consistent, because this is what Duel Links is in 2024. I've been hearing a lot of talk about this LYRILUSC stuff. Is it really tier 0? Well, maybe it's a bit too early to say, but I personally think that it is. We don't have much data to go with here, but if you look at the deck spread for the latest Duel Links Grand Prix, you can see that there's one very particular deck that is much more represented than anything else, and also had some really good conversion. For comparison's sake, here's what the deck spread looked like during the infamous tier 0 Tachyon meta, and what it looked like during the tier 0 Salamangreat meta. LYRILUSC hasn't achieved the same results as Tachyon or Salamangreat did at that time, yet. But it's clear that tourneygoers are going to these tournaments with LYRILUSC in mind, to the point where pretty much every deck that placed in recent tournaments has had a couple of cards put in there just for the sole purpose of countering LYRILUSC. Here's a quick rundown of the LYRILUSC cards and why they're annoying to deal with. Turquoise Warbler is a level 1 wing beast just like the rest of the archetype, and you can special summon it from hand if you don't control anything, and then you get to special summon another LYRILUSC from hand or graveyard. So not only is it an excellent starter that benefits from skill setup, but also since it doesn't target a monster in your graveyard, it doesn't auto-lose to DD Crow. What fun! Sapphire Swallow is a level 1 that does require you to control a wing beast to summon it and another level 1 wing beast from your hand. And then on Xyz summon, you get to target a LYRILUSC monster in your graveyard and attach it to the Xyz monster you just summoned. And this one does require a bit more setup than the previous one, but it's still a pretty good card. Cobalt Sparrow is probably the most infamous of the bunch. If it is special summon, you get to add a level 1 winged beast monster, which is great. And then it makes it so the Xyz monster that used it as material is untargetable. So not only does it search more combo piece or DD Crow to disrupt you on your turn, it also gives targeted protection. So much fun! Barrel Canary can special itself if you have a LYRILUSC monster in your graveyard, and then it revives it. And also on Xyz summon, if it used it as material, the Xyz monster that it summons gains 200 attack, and also control of it cannot switch. So it's another potential starter that works with the skill, and it prevents you from taking control of the annoying boss monster that you probably want to get rid of. Celestine Wagtails, the last main deck LYRILUSC monster. On special it adds a LYRILUSC back row, and then you can just attach it to a LYRILUSC Xyz monster you control from your graveyard. This one's the back row searcher, and the back row of this archetype isn't half bad either. And also it's just infinitely reusable Xyz material that doesn't do anything other than being infinitely reusable Xyz material. Restadol Starling is their first Xyz monster. On summon it boosts a monster that you control, and also you can detach a mat to search a level 1 wing beast monster. And also, it has the Amazoness Swordswoman effect. Not only this one a combo piece and a potential extender, but it can also turn huge beaters against you, which is an issue. Promenade Thrush is their second Xyz monster. This one just gains a bunch of attack, and then you get to get rid of back row by detaching material, and then it gets more attack. This one is the one they're gonna go for to clean any potential dangerous back row that you haven't activated yet. And also it can boost any other monster, including the one that they're using to kill you. And Sembler Robin is another monster that they have, and this one also gains attack. And it can bounce monsters that you special summon. Not once per turn, by the way. The good news about this one is that it is a hard one-of, so once you get rid of it, you don't have to worry about another one. And last but not least, Assembled Nightingale is probably the one that you've seen the most of. It gains 200 attack for every Xyz material that it has, and it can attack directly up to the number of Xyz materials that it has, which means it gets to kill you real quick. And also it can detach to protect LYRILUSC monsters from being destroyed either by battle or card effects, and make it so you take no battle damage. So yeah, Konami saw what were really popular and decided to give us a direct multi-attacker that also gives global protection to all your stuff, including your life points. Isn't it fun? As far as back row is concerned, Bird Call is a really simple card. It's either a Rota or a Foolish, and then you also get to special a LYRILUSC monster with a different name from your hand. So it's a searcher that also sets you up and potentially starts your plays. Bird Strike negates the effect of all face-up monsters you control until the end of turn. So this one takes care of all the problematic monsters. Why am I explaining this? And Bird Sanctuary is a continuous spell that has 2 effects. It gives draw power to LYRILUSC players that do make Xyz monsters with 3+ materials, and then it allows them to give all of the materials to one Xyz monsters of 2 that they have. Maybe a Nightingale, so they can kill you really quick. How not to counter this deck? So with the couple of cards we've seen, we can already cross a couple of staples and strategies off the list. For instance, Cobalt Sparrow giving targeting immunity means that all the back row that targets like Compulse, Bomb, Chalice is out of the question. Beryl Canary giving mind control protection means that the effect of otherwise really useful non-targeting control switches like Ball Dragon, and pretty much only Ball Dragon, do not work. Assemble Nightingale giving battle and card effect protection means the stuff that destroys without targeting like Darkhold or maybe some of the Enchained cards also do not work. And last but not least, the scale being as annoying as it is and allowing you to switch any monster for any other LYRILUSC monster means the stuff like Book of Moon in the middle of their combo that is single targeted, flip face down, or Flying Sea that has a floodgate effect that prevents the control of this card from Xyz summoning do not work. Also in the list of cards that I guess technically work but don't really do anything, I've seen people suggest stuff like Rainbow Life or Kite to avoid dying from an Assemble Nightingale direct attack. I'm like, yeah, but at this stage you're just going minus to delay the inevitable. How to counter LYRILUSC? Non-targeting, mass affecting, is that a word? Ways to deal with your opponent's board are pretty much the best ways to deal with LYRILUSC. Forbidden Droplet and Book of Eclipse both take care of your opponent's monsters, in the case of Book of Eclipse before they're even able to Xyz summon. So it's really cool that Forbidden Droplet very specifically is a pay-to-win card that is locked behind a selection box. Book of Eclipse is marginally more attainable though, so you should consider this one. I've also seen people talk about Poisonous Winds, which is a pretty good floodgate. There's a couple of issues with it. The first of which is that it dies to any back row removal, and the second is that it's not searchable. There is, however, a Revolution Defler setup that can easily make Beatrice to send this and then make Amon to get it back, which, as funny as inconsistent as it sounds, is an option. Otherwise, you're just gonna have to hard draw this. Non-targeting removal also works. Speaking of Revolution Defler, Jingetsu is still one of the greatest cards ever made, and Ice Dragon's Prison is also a solid staple that you can easily play against this sort of deck. Graveyard Disruption can prove useful if your opponent decides to put their Cobalt Sparrow in the graveyard with their scale or with a Bird Call, because they have no other ways of accessing it. So stuff like DD Crow or even Necro Valley can sometimes work. Also, shout out to Seal Tombs, one of the best generic scales of all time. Removal doesn't have to be destruction. Nibiru and Kaijus have proven that you can just tribute your opponent's stuff and it's gonna work regardless. Nibiru is again one of these pay-to-win cards that you don't need to go for, especially considering there's a lot of decks that just can't summon it due to scales restrictions. Really good game design, Konami. And Kaijus are significantly easier to access and more generic. And last but not least, for the generic quiz, there's this stupid looking dragon, Beaufort 9, which it's a ritual monster, alright, but you don't need to summon it. All it does is it's a hand trap that protects you against direct attacks, but unlike Kite, this one also negates the effect of the monsters that's attacking you directly. This one is good against exactly LYRILUSC and maybe Sue ships. So it's a dubious inclusion, but it does have the benefit of being searchable by a couple of archetypes. I'm thinking Necros and Ritual good stuff in general. Now for archetypal ways to deal with LYRILUSC. Rockets F2. Civil Rocket Dragon once again proves to be very useful in getting rid of your opponent's monsters before they even get to summon it, and Bowlord Riot Dragon can just negate the special summon of any Xyz monster. Time Thieves have a bunch of cards that work out Graveyard Disruption, which I guess, as we've established before, can be useful. Tyrant's Tirade isn't a Sacred Beast card by name, but Sacred Beast is probably the archetype that can use it the best. I've seen a couple of Infernable lists run Ring of Magnetism in order to force LYRILUSC monsters to attack the equipped monster, which I guess is a solution. It's kind of gimmicky, kind of jank, but if it works. Gaia also has a similar card in Spiral Discharge that forces your opponent to attack a Gaia the Dragon champion so that it can't attack you directly. This one has the benefits of being searchable, but I would not recommend it. Speaking of preventing attacks, Firewall Turbolisk can use Cyber's Quantum Dragon and Cyber's Magician to create a lock where your opponent can't attack and can't target anything. And last but not least, for archetypal decks that I can think of, Speed Druids can just make a Goita and tribute it during your opponent's turn to make any LYRILUSC monster they control level 2 instead of level 1 so that they can't Xyz summon. Bear in mind that a lot of these cards and counter are just presented to also have their own cards and counter, going from Cosmic Cyclone, get rid of your Book of Eclipse before you can activate it, to Book of Eclipse being used on your board before you can get to use it. The deck is still incredibly powerful, incredibly consistent, and the only show where we're gonna get rid of it is once Konami releases a banlist that I hope will fix many problems with this format, including, but not limited to, LYRILUSC. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you found it entertaining, I hope you found it useful. Let me know in the comments if you think of all the LYRILUSC counters that I neglected to mention. Special thanks in particular to Dingest, Yannick, Aldishboy0, Zinnia and Jimmy for their support on Ko-fi. If you'd like to support me, you can also donate on Ko-fi. Thank you once again for watching this video. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all next time.